We think he just lost connection. Jonathan,
No,
presumably
done pulled his
Israel
ass
did
to the
this.
sun and said, "Boy."
Presumably, yes. I would say that is very reasonable to assess.
And it is one of the more outlandish things that I've ever seen executed. I mean, just purely from an operational point of view, staggeringly successful. Yeah. They seem to have infiltrated these new devices that were being handed to Hezbollah at the instigation of their leader.
Shout out Les Phillips, man. We appreciate you, bro. Can you imagine in this ticket, Candace Owens and Tulsi Gabbard? That would be awesome. I ain't gonna lie. That would probably be the one, like, I'd probably vote for that. I would probably sit there and be like, you know what? Feminism now.
Not facts.
I would be like, I could rock with that. Like, it would be pretty hard to beat that. I ain't even gonna cap. Tulsi Gabbard, it had to be Tulsi Gabbard as president and then Candace Owens' vice.
Leadership, because they thought mobile phones
they would
ironically were more dangerous,
support.
more susceptible to this. So they had these pages which all simultaneously
appreciate the support in the chat, man. Like the video if you haven't already.
People have been wounded and so on. Today is carried on in another phase. You're even seeing apparently solar panels on people's homes have been apparently exploding. You're also seeing other electronic devices exploding with people. It appears to have been very targeted, but as with all these things, a lot of innocent people are getting caught up in it too.
You know, there are conversations that you and I have made, and I'm sure that we will have, about innocent people getting caught up in the unfortunate situation of war and warfare, where Israel is defending itself against terrorist armies, Iranian proxies around it, which I think we should mention have been attacking Israel for almost a year, firing rockets at our civilians and abducting our people.
Sweet Jesus.
And I think that most of the time we could have a debate about how many are wounded. In this case, I don't think that you have any better example in modern warfare of a more surgical and precise attack against combatants and combatants only. And frankly, I find it amazing. I've been answering people on X for the last few hours since I tweeted about it, claiming that this was not a surgical and not an attack that affected civilians. And I think it's ridiculous.
Well, because you are seeing civilians caught up in it. They are getting hit.
Relatively speaking to the amount of enemy combatants.
But it would be illegal if civilians were getting booby-trapped in this operation. That is actually illegal. You can't booby-trap devices where civilians may get killed or wounded.
So that's exactly the thing. The devices, as you said, they were bought by Hezbollah and they were delivered to Hezbollah personnel, and not just rank and file people. They were delivered to Hezbollah personnel who needed to be on call and have access to information that is pushed from headquarters. And they are people of military importance. In legal speak, that's military necessity. These are people that.
What would you have said if they'd done it to Israel?
If they would have done it, if they would have targeted military personnel, fair game.
Really?
Let me see that.
Of course, when you target...
And if Israeli civilians were caught up in it, women and children as well?
That isn't really the case. You know, there's one reported unfortunate casualty, and I really don't think that is the heart of the matter. When you look at...
Two children, we're told,
when you look at more than 3,000 Hezbollah operatives that have been affected, there's reports of a lot of IRGC officers in eastern Syria as well, still unconfirmed, so I'm holding on that. But when you look about the total number, the amount of Hezbollah personnel killed or wounded, and the adverse effects of one or two people that...
And let me give you some current news, right? Because I believe it's happened about 20 hours ago, maybe more. So the UN will vote on Palestinian resolution demanding Israel to end its occupation?
Oh boy.
Yeah, the UN General Assembly will vote Wednesday, which is today actually, on a resolution demanding that Israel ends its unlawful persistence in Gaza and the West Bank within 1 year and withdraw troops. So get your ass up out of there, pretty much what they're saying. Get your unlawful presence up out of, Palestine or the West Bank and Gaza.
We'll see how that transpires,
because
we know Netanyahu stands.
This is going to irritate the pro-Israel people.
My Zionists in the chat.
Yep. The resolution also seeks reparations from Israel for damages caused and urges nations to halt trade that support Israel's presence in the territory. Oh, they're finding. Oh,
yeah, I think they deserve some damage-based reparations.
Apparently, not been verified by anybody, but claimed by Hezbollah. I think we should say that as well. This hasn't been verified by anybody who isn't Hezbollah. And at the end of the day, this is as surgical as you can get in warfare. I dare you to give me another example of 3,000 enemy combatants affected and 2 civilians affected.
I've got to be honest, I've never seen anything quite like this. It's a stunning thing to have watched go off. We see these videos simultaneously erupting all over Lebanon.
Yep.
Is it safe to assume this is a Mossad operation?
You know what?
Given how sophisticated it is?
I mean, what Israeli security agencies have been doing is enhancing their ability to operate together. Interoperability across organizations, so you would have military intel. There's a cyber unit in the very famous unit 8200 that does offensive cyber. And then there are Mossad capabilities, and one would assume that these have been working together, affecting, if reports are correct, the supply chain of Hezbollah, directly understanding exactly as you said. Hezbollah gave these machines out to the...
So, pretty much, Israel controlled Hezbollah supply chains of those electronics that they got so they can remotely explode them. And Hezbollah, unknowing of Israel's tampering with their radios and stuff, unknowing, handed them out to all the personnel.
Pretty much.
Man, I mean,
handed out the bombs.
I mean, well,
you can't make it up.
That's damn. It's evil, but it's genius.
Man.
At the same time, like, god damn,
ingenious,
like diabolical.
Their operatives, because they were concerned about Israel listening to their cell phones and taking information. These don't explode, right? But a beeper full of explosives could.
Let me bring Candace Owens in now. And we got Cenk back, I think. I'm sorry about that, Cenk. I don't know what happened. I think you disappeared and sparked a whole new conspiracy theory that we had you zapped off camera, but that is not.
Shout out Ignacio K.
Ignacio K.
Ignacio K. I like your hair, bro. Trump 2024.
All right.
And we appreciate you, man. Honor us with your first super chat on the live stream. Let's go.
Not true. You're alive and well and back with us. Candace, your reaction to this extraordinary operation, seemingly led by Mossad, ordered by Netanyahu yesterday, ongoing today, right across Lebanon. 2 children are reported to have been killed in this operation, who were clearly civilians and not Hezbollah terrorists. That's reported by the Lebanese Health Authority, which is not Hezbollah. What is your response to this? Is it, as Jonathan just said, fair game? If primarily the people who were targeted, almost all of them appear to have been Hezbollah?
Well, I think a question that I immediately want to ask him, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to, is that if you're able to delineate how surgical and precise these operations can be with the intelligence that you have, why are there 40,000 dead innocent women and children and civilians in Gaza? Because that's a question that I've always had. We keep hearing the excuse that behind every one of these victims is a Hamas soldier, but there's not 40,000 dead Hamas soldiers. And if the excuse is that there's a tunnel under there, I mean, just me thinking logically through engineering, you would only have to hit a tunnel at a couple of points to render it ineffective. So I'm just interested in why you guys can perform surgical procedures, but seemingly not in Gaza, where it looks like just an absolute war zone and buildings and hospitals and children and women are dead.
Bro, and to Ken's point, bro, I always said, I'm like, yo, why can't y'all just put boots on ground and surgically just remove these dudes? If there's more citizens than, Hamas, then maybe you should go in there, surgically remove these dudes, make sure the citizens is safe, so y'all don't look like villains and it don't look like a genocide to the world. Come on now. There was a way y'all could have done this to where y'all didn't have to start bombing women and children. There was a way, and that was putting boots on ground and surgically removing these people.
Well, on that point, let's get a response from Jonathan. It's a fair question.
It's a very fair question, and I appreciate it. Wow. And I'd like to make a comparison. I'm sure that you follow events, and you're very interested in what happens in Israel and with what our enemies are doing, and I see that. But I'm sure that you know that until this cyber operation that Israel reportedly did, Israel was able to kill more than 500 Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon, throughout Lebanon. Now, I haven't seen you tweet about it or any of the other people who usually support the other side, but if you take a look at how many civilians were killed in Lebanon as a result, as an unfortunate byproduct of Israeli strikes, and if you compare that to the situation in Gaza, I think that what you will find is it's the same IDF, the same operating procedures that we have in Gaza, only that here in Lebanon, until now, the situation is that Hezbollah has so far distinguished itself from civilian population, and they haven't been fighting from within cities. And as such, when the IDF has deployed lethal weapons against them, then terrorists have been killed and not civilians. And it's not because it's a different IDF, it's because, as you said, you used the word excuses, I would call it a reason and the sad reality of Hamas using Gazan population as their human shields, which I think is deplorable. And if you claim to be a defender of Palestinians and Arabs and other people, and you have that in your heart, and I think that your criticism should be pointed first and foremost towards Hamas and all of the other cowards who are using Palestinians as their human shields, who are afraid to fight out in the open, who are firing rockets from schools, and who are using mosques as their launch pads against Israel. That, I think, is despicable, and that should be condemned, not the fact that we are going in there to fight them after.
Well, can y'all please show us videos of this? Because, like, can y'all just, like, come on, at least prove yourselves and be like, all right, this is why we bombed that building. Why? It was a whole Hamas soldier shooting rockets, bro. We had to bomb it. Like, we had to hit them, right? I can get behind that. It's just that when you don't show no proof, it kind of makes it seem like you're just doing this indiscriminately. Like, regardless. Like, all right, well, you know what? There could be a Hamas under there. You know, Hamas need to go to the store. They need to go check on their kids in school. Let's bomb it.
Maybe, maybe not. Either way, we're going to set the target and we're going to let loose.
After they attacked us on October the 7th.
I didn't issue a condemnation. I didn't issue a condemnation. I asked you a question, and you just delivered me the same talking points that we always hear. You didn't actually provide me an answer.
I actually did.
If you are able to go to a foreign country, you guys have control over the Gaza Strip, right? It's a part of Israel.
No, it isn't.
If you are able to go into a country like Lebanon where you don't have control, where you can't just shut off their water, where you can't be monitoring people's actions in the same way, and within the same proximity to Israel, why are you unable to similarly perform a surgical operation to locate where exactly those Hamas soldiers are? And by the way, do you have a number for how many Hamas soldiers have been killed in the Gaza Strip?
Right. So, I mean, you either weren't listening or maybe I wasn't
how
clear.
How many Hamas soldiers have been killed?
Yeah, I heard your question, Candace. I heard your question. Maybe you weren't listening or I wasn't clear. I'm usually clear when I speak, but I'll repeat it. Israel has been able to take out more than 500 Hezbollah operatives and with absolutely minimal collateral damage in Lebanon. Why is that the case, which is different from the situation in Gaza? Because Hezbollah hasn't been hiding amongst civilians yet.
Hey, man, we'll see you
Hamas
Power Stroke
is.
Syndicate.
And that is why, unfortunately, Palestinian civilians in Gaza have also been killed in significant numbers, and many have been wounded. If I were you, I wouldn't use Hamas information. I wouldn't rely on Hamas statistics and to claim for them to be true.
I'm asking you. I'm not asking Hamas. How many Hamas soldiers have been killed in the Gaza Strip?
Yeah.
So we can believe
the IDF statistics.
Yeah. So we can believe what y'all say. And we can't believe, what the people on the ground was actually getting bombed are saying.
Or we can't believe any reports from the other side.
That's wild. That's good. That's controlling the narrative.
I don't like one-sided history. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, you kind of control the narrative here, man.
I'll answer, and it's nice that we're having an interview and Piers is getting a few minutes off. According to the information that I have, and this is working numbers, I don't think that there are final numbers, and I think it will take a lot of time before a definite number of dead Hamas terrorists is given. But the best assessment that I am aware of is between 16 and 18,000 Hamas operatives that have been killed in combat in Gaza.
Oh, let's bring in Cenk. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, Cenk, what's up?
Because that's an outrageous, ludicrous number. Even the IDF doesn't make up numbers like that. Once they said 13,000, then they went back to 9,000, and this gentleman right here just made up 16 to 18,000. So Jonathan, do you concede that Israel has dictatorial control over Gaza and the West Bank, that it's a different situation than a sovereign nation that can have military or different barracks or can separate folks. It's like saying in occupied France, well, why was the resistance hiding among the civilian population? So of course we had to kill all the French who were protecting the resistance. So the problem is that another country, Israel, has dictatorial control over Gaza and West Bank. I mean, you've got to acknowledge that, right? I mean, you're not claiming that Gaza is free. You guys just destroyed 85%
I think that the only thing
if I may say
ridiculous.
that, I think we're focusing too much on the Israel-Hamas war, which we've done a lot on this show, as you know, with you guys, right? I would rather, Cenk, just get your reaction to a specific operation which appears to have been conducted at Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel's instructions, and carried out primarily led by Mossad. From an operational point of view, obviously a stunning success. But is it valid? Is it fair game, as Jonathan said, given the way that Hezbollah has been attacking Israel now for years?
Yeah, so the most important part of this, Piers, is why did Israel act now? Because, look, you could say, oh, Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, so we should have gone into Iraq. No, I don't think so. You could say Hezbollah are terrorists, but then Israel has killed 30 times the civilians that Hamas has, let alone Hezbollah. So is the Israeli government, the IDF, and Netanyahu terrorists?
But you don't dispute that Hezbollah has
here.
been targeting Israel for years.
Okay. Yeah, and Israel's been targeting. Israel bombed Beirut, bombed Damascus.
Forget Israel for a moment.
They bombed Tehran.
But do you accept?
They bomb all their neighbors.
Yeah, but do you accept?
Hold on, Cenk, man. Yo, come on. You're speaking a little bit too much truth now. Your scheme gonna go off again.
Why now, Piers?
Specifically,
Why now?
do you accept that Hezbollah has persistently targeted Israel with endless rockets? Do you accept that?
Oh, they've launched rockets, no question. And I'm sure you guys can see that Israel has dictatorial control over Gaza and the West Bank.
But don't go back to that. So is it fair game, as Jonathan said, if it was Hezbollah terrorists who would specifically targeted through their pages, is that fair game, but given the state of the warfare?
Man, shout out Les Phillips, man, $5 super chat. Video from CNN, Fox, and others show rockets fired from schools, hospitals, mosques, and civilian centers. Okay, that's not good. Shout out to them. Man, shout out Liz. So you tell me that. So all right, Les. So you pretty much telling us that, well, damn, all these sources are
fired from the schools, hospitals, and mosques, or fired at them.
I think he means from. Hey, man, I think he means from on this one. Makes like rockets. Dang. Hey, that's crazy work right there.
Shout out Daniel Castro, man. Another $2 super chat from our boy.
Man.
Keep up the good work, exposing the lies of the left. Man, we just exposing the truth.
Yeah.
Left, right, center. It don't matter, man. We on a search for truth, and we here to bring it to y'all.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all for tuning in with us.
Between Hezbollah and
Make sure to like the video.
Look, I can answer that question, but we've got to get to the more important question.
Well, answer that question first.
Hold on, I'll answer it. So did they check that the 2,800 people and the children near them and the other civilians near them, that they were all quote-unquote terrorists before they decided to murder all of them?
I'm going to be real with you, though. Is it okay to bomb strike an entire building just because you're, like, I don't know, rockets are coming out? Can't y'all snipe these dudes? Like, I don't know. Do you have to blow up a building full of civilians? Like, even if they're keeping them hostage, you telling me you just can't, like,
bro, they're leveling some of these buildings, and they have technology that can blow up, that can detonate on the ground floor.
Oh, I don't know, man. Maybe I just got too much heart for women and children. Maybe I just got too much heart to try to think of another way instead of just leveling the whole building and taking out them with them. It's like, I don't know. Just don't feel right.
It's like they're trying to
now,
flatten
luckily,
Gaza.
only 12 died, but 2,800 were injured. No, they didn't check. And by the way, buyer beware of Israeli products. Apparently, they have bombs in them. Okay,
do you suggest we send them a warning?
Question is why
you know,
now?
remind me of when the BBC asked me if we should have warned the Hamas terrorists who were keeping our 4 hostages before we went in to save them. Why didn't we warn them before? Because civilians were killed in the combat. You are just as ridiculous in your pontification and in your acrobatics to try to smear Israel. You're really unable to say black is black and white is white. And look how low Piers has to go in order to get you to say something against Hezbollah. How low does he have to go in order to justify Israel defending
Jonathan,
itself?
it's easy. It's easy. I call out Hamas and Hezbollah all the time.
I'm
I wish
weak.
they would
He said,
never
"I call
fire
them
any
all the
rockets. I wish there would be
time."
no violence.
And shout out Les Phillips again, man. Appreciate the support. They were being shot from the roofs of those places after October 17th last year from a long time. It was nightly. Okay, wait, are you talking about? Okay. So are they still doing this? So they're still commencing to do this, or was this just on October 17th? Because we all know about, them sending out 5,000 rockets from all types of places.
Right. Most of them didn't make it through though.
Yeah,
Iron Dome.
Yeah, man.
Most of them, and I know something connected. I know there were some casualties. I'm not sitting here. I'm not gonna say no lies here.
It's just a blessing that these people didn't have better technology. Let's just say that. It's a blessing. Because you fired 5,000 rockets of American missiles?
Woo.
Oh, boy, you might not have had a country after that.
Man.
Violence.
Right.
You, on the other
These
hand,
are
are totally
yet you
okay
compare
with
them to the
handmade
30
with
times
off the
the
shelf,
number.
like,
Hold
which
on,
is
let me finish.
preposterous.
You're okay with
Rocket
killing
bombs,
30 times
like
the number of
second-rate
civilians that
missiles.
Hamas did. Obviously, that's terrorism on a mass scale that Israel
No, it
does.
isn't.
But
No,
you
it
say it's
isn't.
okay
Not
because
when we
we're
are
the good
doing
guys?
everything in
No,
order
that
not
makes
to
you
kill them.
terrorists.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
didn't
And
want to kill
no
them.
matter
So,
how
hey,
many
Jonathan,
times
can
you
I ask
repeat
you-
the lie, it doesn't turn it to be true. Israel is defending
Jonathan,
itself
can I ask
against
you-
a jihadi enemy, an enemy that has said we are not going to stop until we kill all the Jews. I wouldn't want
Yeah.
you or anybody else to be in that situation, but that is
And Netanyahu said that they're not going to stop until Hamas is executed or Hamas is done. He's not for a two-party solution. So there's both sides are kind of forming it in a way where the violence is going to continue.
And the way you frame that, Key, people can low-key spin it, because he's not pretty much saying now, and what he's pretty much saying is, well, if you keep going after Hamas and you're willing to take out one Hamas soldier, 3 Hamas soldiers, and take out a whole building, which is going to be thousands of women and children, then when you mean take out Hamas, I mean, all right, for every Hamas soldier, we're okay with killing 1,000 people, and 1,000 civilians, because that's what it's looking like right now.
Just about.
So I'm trying to get the math here. I'm trying to get where it kind of, I don't know, where it morally aligns with myself at least. Like working out kind of, because, hey, I know war is war. But then there's you can be a bit graceful about this. You are a stronger force than Gaza.
By far.
So
overwhelmingly.
You can't put boots on ground, go in there and just be like, yeah, we're just going to take them out.
That's not their strategy, though.
Snipe them.
Clearly, that's not their strategy.
Get them up out of there.
Like I said, they have bombs that could detonate on the ground floor, but they continue to level these buildings, these hospitals, these schools, right? And I guess the excuse can be made, or the excuse is being made, like, oh, well, they're hiding behind civilians. They're hiding in these buildings. And I'm just like, okay, well, that would have been the time to put boots on the ground, like you said.
Yeah, and I would just say the crazy reference about Hamas is that, well, they are a political party. It started as a political party, so
they were voted in.
So pretty much, bro, it's like people coming over here and trying to take out, well, sorry to say this, my Democrats, but all Democrats. Yes, it's like them trying to take out all Democrats and they're blowing up every goddamn building. Well, there was a Democrat in there, so we blew it up.
is the situation that Israel is in. We have to defend ourselves against people who say our only goal in life is to eradicate Israel and kill all the Jews who live there and build a Sharia-based state in Palestine.
Yeah.
Those are their words.
So-
I don't know how you think that you could defend
I know,
yourself
Jonathan,
against it, but being nice isn't one of them.
Wow.
You live in La La Land, where you say the Palestinians might prevent an Israeli state. Well, Israel exists. But you prevent a Palestinian state, take away all their freedom, you take away all their rights, you kill them wantonly. Anytime you want, you destroy all of Gaza.
I like the video
and
if you haven't already.
Not to be the terrorist. So let me ask you something. Is the IDF the most incompetent military in the history of the world, that they just accidentally killed over 30,000 civilians, including over 25,000 women and children in Gaza? Are they buffoons who just cannot ever get the right target? Oh, we got a couple of Hamas guys. Oops, we killed a stadium full of women and children.
Listen,
and you're
the only
pretending not to
buffoon
be a
here
terrorist?
is someone who would be sitting here and doing the apologetics of Hamas. And I say that with a little respect. For you to be saying that without having lived in Israel, without having dealt with terrorists that are going after our families and women and children, without even
Have you ever lived
understanding
in
what
Gaza?
Hamas is, You compare Hamas to French resistance fighters? Seriously? You compare Hamas, a jihadi terrorist genocidal organization
analogy.
that says, yeah, well, it's a
Because
stupid
you
analogy.
say that they should
it's
be able to kill
reckless,
the
and
French
you're
resistance
whitewashing
fighters.
Hamas by even thinking that you can compare French resistance against Nazi Germany to Hamas terrorists that are willing to burn and butcher and rape and kill Israeli
I'm not
civilians.
talking about the Hamas terrorists. I'm talking about the civilians you
Y'all doing the same
butchered.
thing?
We
I'm
are
talking
not
about the
butchering
civilians you
anybody.
I want to bring in
butchered.
Yeah, all right.
That's
Shout out
what
to
I was
Les.
saying.
Shout out to Les Phillips, man. You have
Exactly
to
as I
remember
said.
that Hamas was voted in by the public there, but also Hamas has always been a terrorist organization.
Now, they would define themselves as an extremist organization. We would define them as terrorists, but they themselves would define themselves as extremists.
yeah. So, and to the Palestinian people, it was just a vote.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. The Palestinian people have been under the rule, have been under the subjection of the Israeli government for how long?
Yeah, and
So that's how Hamas came to prominence. They were voted in. It was the popular vote.
yeah, and I'm gonna be real with you. If you want to take out citizens for that, then hey, man, that's like people, like I say, like people coming out here and taking out people for being Democrat or Republican. I want
to bring in Candace
a
here.
stadium full of dead
Yeah, we
women
heard
and
that.
children,
We heard
and you
that
say
term.
that their lives don't count,
You
right?
said-
Their
no,
lives
he
don't
didn't
count.
say their
Have you
lives
ever lived
didn't
in
count.
Gaza?
No, I've
Have you
never
ever
He
said
lived
didn't
that,
say
and I
their
don't
lives
believe
didn't count. I
of the
want to
Israeli state?
bring in Candace to ask the same question I asked Cenk, which he hasn't really answered in a clear, simple manner, which I think is a very easy question to answer. Hezbollah are wedded to constantly attacking Israel. They are an enemy of Israel, as Hamas are. So is it, as Jonathan said, fair game for
But-
Israel to...
This is what kills me though about the whole Israeli situation. I'm like, bro, how do you go from beefing with the Palestinians to the Syrians to the Lebanese,
The
It's
Iranians.
Like, it's like, all right, dog. It's like we at this point, like, why are we blaming the Arabs so much? It's like, dog, they got 5 countries that got beef with them at a certain point. All of them evil,
pretty much
all of
like-
them just anti-Semitic at this. Like, come on now.
It's pretty much like Israel versus every country they're around, which is honestly, if I take it back historically, which is why a lot of people said that would never work. The placement of Israel.
Yeah, the placement of Israel is really would, like, I ain't gonna screw them over. So can we
Geographically,
say-
they're surrounded by enemies. That's why they say they need America's help.
Can we say that Israel was damn near something, like it was damn near destined to politically fail at a certain point?
Now, mind you, if you look back historically, somewhere along the timeline, they were actually supposed to go to Madagascar, I believe.
Yeah, they're supposed to hit Madagascar instead of whatchamacallit, well, Palestine, because even then they kind of saw the problem this might create. Even then. And I'm gonna be real with you, I'm gonna be real. Like, I think Africa was okay. They was like, all right, yeah, you can put them there. But Arab, we were like, whoa, you just gonna put them there? Like, on Palestine. And they didn't do it in the most gracious way. If you go back to 1948 and you hear the Palestinian story, they try to help out some of these people who come back and they got locked out. Like, literally squatted in their crib, kicked them out. Now, you know what's crazy? That sounds like something that's going on today. It sounds like, oh, America's immigration policy.
have conducted this operation, which appears to have been almost, and I use that phrase very advisedly, almost exclusively against Hezbollah terrorists.
If the operation was targeted almost exclusively at Hezbollah operatives and it was surgical, I think every state has a right when it's being attacked to launch an attack back at the operatives that are attacking them. That's a very easy answer for me. And I take, by the way, Jonathan, great exception to you painting me as some like broad defender of Middle Eastern. You said the Palestinian people. I just defend innocent life. And so whether it's October 7th and Israeli children being killed and Israeli children being taken away, I used my platform to say how wrong it was when people were pulling down the signs. And I'm also feeling just as strongly about the Palestinian women and children. And I don't like when people try to conflate humanity as some political position that's against the Jews or against the Palestinians. At the end of the day, the preservation of life is what needs to come first. And I don't feel if you did this in Lebanon, great. I'm happy for that. I don't think that has been your priority in Gaza. And I use my platform to say how wrong I think what's happening is there. But that's not a condemnation against Jews or the Jewish people. It's a condemnation against Netanyahu's government, which I think has become somewhat radicalized. And I think that's a fair critique, given the fact that you have so many Israelis that are taking to the street protesting him, as well as the families of the people who are hostages who have been protesting him and speaking out, as well as some of the most prominent Jews in America.
Yeah, shout out Les Phillips coming in with a $5 super chat again. Man, for thousands of years, both sides have been at odds with each other. And unfortunately, they always will be. And I'm going to be real with you. But, okay, so.
Yeah, this is a religious territorial war that's persisted on for over 100 years.
They always will be until these guys kind of don't deal with it no more. Now, what if, and God forbid this happens, but what if they pulled a World War II and they dogpile on, like, how in World War II we dogpiled on Germany? Well, what if they dogpile on Israel? What if Iran, Libya, Syria, like Palestine, they all dogpile on Israel? Like, bro, what could we possibly do for them? That
kind of seems like what's happening, set to your point, but the implications now are much greater, seeing as though these countries have alliances with certain countries that we're not allied with. Like, I don't know if everybody knows this, Iran is backed by Russia.
Yeah, that's true.
Russia's backed by China.
Yeah.
So you got to think about the implications, the stakes that we're at. That's why Trump says that, bro, World War III is on the verge. We're closer to World War III than a lot of people realize just by the geopolitical tension that's going on right now.
Yeah, and well, we need somebody to come through and make some negotiations and sit people down forcibly. Like, all right, y'all both got to sit down. And
I hate to say it, but it ain't going to be Kamala.
It ain't going to be Kamala.
It ain't going to be her, bro.
Kamala only talks to one side. That's the problem with Kamala. She talks to one side. That's why when Trump said, how many times have you talked to Putin, though? She couldn't answer that question.
But I talked to Zelensky 5 times.
Bro, that's what you talked to one side 5 times. You wonder why the war hasn't ended? Like, no shit. I guess not, because you don't care to talk to the other side.
Like Ari Emanuel, who is a Zionist, who has said that he thinks what Bibi Netanyahu is doing is selfish. So I think it's important to separate what is fair critique and an understandable emotion that people are having, seeing so many dead Palestinian children on their screens every day on X and on Instagram. And I know, Piers, you are also being tagged in these photos of mothers mourning and screaming. It's wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jonathan, specifically for you, is a breaking story that the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, has declared the start of a new phase, his words, of war, as the IDF turns attention to the northern front with Lebanon. Now, that's a massive escalation in what is already a deeply turbulent situation. Can Israel conduct wars on all these different fronts?
Yeah, I will, of course, answer that. And
think
I'll
about
reflect on what you said before, Candace. I appreciate your words, and I think that I agree with you on protecting human life, dignity of human beings.
I mean,
I think that's
it's so crazy. People like say, read the Bible, or like, it's their holy land, and I'm just like, so you want us to put their Bible over these people's Quran, or their Torah over their Quran? It's like, at this point, you're really telling us to have a religious supremacy for the other side. Like, yes, you want us to be, I'm not gonna lie, Jewish supremacists, and be like, what the Jews say about their holy land matters more about what the Palestinians say about their land. So you're pretty much asking us to be a religious supremacist for one side.
And we're not gonna do that. We refuse to, actually. And shout out Les Phillips, another $5 super chat. We appreciate the support, bro. He says they all tried to invade Israel in, I believe, 1972 or around that time frame, and Israel beat them, all of them.
Yeah, but it's them today. That was them then, man. I ain't gonna lie, they got some stuff on them now. Especially Iran after the pullout. Like, come on now, they got some stuff after Iran right now. But I hear your point, though. I do hear your point, but and that's the problem. A lot of y'all got this snapshotted at, October 7th, 2023. When really this thing's been kicking off since the start of it, since the 1948. And in 1972, bro, that's just one of the times that Israel done got into it with multiple people, multiple Arab nations, not just Palestine. So are we giving Israel a path to antagonize these Arab countries with the backing of America? Like, let's check ourselves here. That's
what I said. All of what Israel's done has been sanctioned by the U.S. and the West. So it's, as much as we want to blame Israel, as much as we want to be like, Netanyahu bad, like, think about who's literally sanctioning it. Think about who's co-signing it. Honestly.
Yeah. And there's one credit I could probably give maybe to Israel.
Yeah.
Well, the Rothschilds did buy it back in 1890. So
Set.
Like, it's crazy how you can buy somebody's whole country from with under them. But hey, no.
Whoa, Set.
All right, I'll stop.
we're in total agreement. And if you used your platform for good, humane purposes, I commend it. And that's great.
The chat ain't ready for that.
Full stop, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Follow our Rumble, though, if you care about that. Only get in the
current
chat.
situation in Lebanon. Just before coming on, I saw that tweet, and I think what Defense Minister Gallant is doing is messaging to the US and to Tehran and to Beirut that Israel is getting closer, and that the level of frustration within Israel with the current unsustainable situation of more than 70,000 Israeli civilians that have been pushed out of their homes, and tens of Israeli communities in northern Israel that are now ghost towns because Hezbollah has been attacking them directly, and these areas are unsafe to live in. And for 11 months, and I'm sure that many people don't know it because it's not really reported a lot in international media, but Israeli civilians have been targeted by Hamas for about a year. And people are saying, enough. For how long are we going to have to live in temporary housing in other places of Israel? And when will the Israeli government make sure that it is safe to live in sovereign Israel? And I think that's a very basic, very legitimate claim of a civilian population that says, enough. We want to go back to our homes. We haven't done anything to deserve this. And I think that there's been a long process of building this up. And to answer the question, yes, Israel can. It'll be tough. It will be, I think, very, very difficult. And it will be a horrible war. If Israel and Hezbollah go all out against each other, Hezbollah is a very powerful Iranian proxy with 10.
I told you. Like, hey, that's what feels. I told you. I'm like, they beat him back then. But, bro, Hezbollah now, it got some shit on them. Iran, bro, we pulled out of Iran and gave them, like, bro, missiles. We got guns. They got a helicopter, some tanks. They can push that mug right over to Israel. So, like, I hear what you're saying. Israel does have a strong army, but dogpile on Israel? You think they can just, like, what you think? They really about to Bruce Lee they ass? Like, you gone, dispatched. I don't know. I can't see it personally.
Tens of thousands of rockets with the ability and intention to hit
Appreciate y'all
and
support.
kill
Like the video if you haven't
thousands of
already.
Israeli civilians. And of course, Israel will
keep it
not be
going.
taking that sitting down, and Israel will retaliate. And I'm not going to be surprised to see you and perhaps other people first condemning Israel for defending itself, and then maybe thinking why Israel is doing it. What is happening is that Hezbollah has fired more than 5,000 rockets at Israel in the past months alone. They have gone a bit unnoticed by international media, and perhaps Israel now is saying enough is enough and we're going to defend ourselves. And if Hezbollah didn't get the message the first time with the beepers, maybe they'll be getting it today with the walkie-talkies.
Hey, yo, they taking claim to it too. Yeah, we did that. Big Israel, they said, we blowing phones up out here, man. Don't matter where you at, we could blow your shit up. Like, Big Israel.
You know how much I get down.
Yo, they flexing. I ain't gonna lie. No offense, I'd have flexed it too. I'd have been like, yeah. And wherever you at and where you be, I know you on your phone and I can blow that shit up. What you gonna do? Say something. Like, all right, that's code. I don't like it, but it's code though. It's like, all right.
And if they don't get those two messages and understand that they have
blow them
transgressed and are aggressing against Israeli civilians too much, then maybe perhaps more needs to happen. I, as an Israeli, hope that we won't need to go to that situation because I know that it will be bad. There will be bloodshed. It will be carnage in Israel and in Lebanon. It is still avoidable. And those who
shout out
all right, Malachi
82.
He said fake Jew, AK Jewish. Their rabbis have taught it falsely identified. The Ashkenazis have been kicked out of countries for centuries. For Judaism.
Hey, follow our rumble. We appreciate that, bro. We get it. We get it. I appreciate that super chat, but follow our rumble for special coverage of let's just say the last battle. The last battle. Search for the last battle on our rumble. We've covered the whole 11-part docu-series. And it was quite interesting, quite informative. Go check that out if you're into that type of alternative history.
And the word of the day is Bolshevism.
who need to stop firing al Hezbollah, who have been firing at
Israel
for the last 11 months without anybody really condemning it or doing anything about it.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Cenk, I'll give you the final word on this part of the debate, and then I'm going to say goodbye to you and Jonathan, and Candice, you're going to stay on just for a little bit of a chat after just me and you. So just Cenk, your response to what Jonathan just said there. Clearly, this is a massive escalation already. Nobody's quite sure how Hezbollah is going to respond. But as Jonathan said, they are equipped to, if they go all out, to have a proper massive major war with Israel, which would have enormous repercussions for the whole region. What is your thought about that prospect?
Yeah, so first of all, there is a correct path here. Take the ceasefire, stop the occupation, 2 states, and let both Israel and the Palestinians live in peace and freedom.
None of this is related to Hezbollah. Sorry to interrupt, but none of this is related to Hezbollah.
It's 100% related to Hezbollah.
No, it isn't. Hezbollah, this Iranian proxy has nothing to do with Palestinians. Hezbollah has nothing to do with Palestinians. They are Lebanese. They are Shiite Lebanese. They have nothing to do with Palestinians. They have nothing to do with Palestinians. There's not a single Palestinian in Hezbollah. So for you to tie it to Hamas is ridiculous.
No,
it is whitewashing.
Ridiculous.
It's the old tired propaganda against Israel. You have to be honest and address the situation. Hezbollah has nothing to do with Palestinians.
Hezbollah is doing it because of the occupation. Are you so stupid you don't understand that?
None of Hezbollah's business. Nothing to do with Hezbollah.
Oh, all the Muslims. Watch
the Muslim brothers in arms.
Who appointed Hezbollah other than the Iranian masters to have anything to say about Israel and Palestinians? What have Lebanese militias got to do with it?
You don't want peace. I know. You want to occupy and steal their land as long as humanly possible. I got it.
Hezbollah doesn't have a say. It's not their business. It's Israel and Palestinians. If you were to say, take a ceasefire.
Not to sound too harsh, but that's what Israelis came in doing. So I guess that's how it ended out on.
Shit, going out on the same note they came in.
Man.
With Hamas, I would say that's a valid topic to discuss. What does Hezbollah have to do with Palestinians? Absolutely nothing. The only thing that they have in common is that they are
You think Hezbollah is attacking Israel out of thin blue air? Do you actually genuinely believe that Hezbollah is attacking Israel for no reason at all, just because they don't like Jews? No, they're attacking you because of the occupation. Are you so incredibly ignorant that you don't understand that simple concept?
The only ignorant person here is you, my esteemed colleague to the panel, to be parroting Iranian talking points and
blah, 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 blah. I know. Everything is terrorist. Anyone who's opposed to Israel is terrorist.
You can't even make a coherent claim.
Israel can murder anyone they like, but they're not terrorists. I know.
What has Hezbollah got to do with Palestinians? Nothing, except that they have the same benefactor, Iran, that is providing them weapons. Nothing else. No logical connection, no religious connection, no territorial connection, nothing. Only empty talking points from people like you and from Iranian parrots. That's it.
Yeah. I know. Poor victim Israel. Oh, they just have been humiliated and oppressed and occupied for 57 long years, 5.5 million Muslims, and they're outraged to find out that other Muslims might not love that idea. Piers, this is the most important part of this.
That is funny.
Right now, the reason I brought up the ceasefire is you could take the ceasefire, and I guarantee you that Hezbollah stops the rocket attacks. That's because that's what they've said, our experts say, every single expert in the world says. But instead of taking the ceasefire, what Netanyahu has decided is in order to protect his own political career, and he's deeply unpopular in Israel and faces corruption charges, but if he signs the ceasefire, the right-wing radicals in his government will leave the government, and Netanyahu will go to election and lose. So he's worried about his own political career. So he has decided to go to war instead. Instead of signing a peace deal, he bombed Hezbollah. Now, you could say, hey, I like that he bombed Hezbollah. You could say that Hezbollah is dirty terrorists, and you could...
And I said this already, man. The UN, voted today. I'm not sure what they probably voted on. I need to probably look that up low-key. Because the vote came in today that, the unlawful presence in Gaza and the West Bank within 1 year. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. The UN wants y'all to stop that, Israel. They're pretty much saying, nah, get up out of there. Y'all done. And you got to pay them reparations.
Damage based.
Ah, man. Do you think Israel going for that? You think Israel going for that, bro?
Not with the current regime. Netanyahu's already said he's not for a two-party solution. So convincing that man
To stop and pay reparations?
that's a tough sell. I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, it's nice, it's good, it's fair, but I don't think, bro, rocking
that's
with
a
that.
tough sell. I mean, they consider him to be somewhat of a warmonger. So for him to just cease and be like, you know what, we went this far, but yeah, I guess we'll just leave it here.
But it's kind of crazy,
And
though,
we'll pay him reparations.
because, like I said, nobody really sees like Jews as bad people. It's just that I ain't gonna lie, the government of Israel is low-key putting their own people in danger. It's like, you really think you'll be able to fight off all 5 of them? All 5 of them, though. Come on now.
With the backing of
America, like, bro, they're right there.
Bruh, look,
You
bro.
think we're gonna bomb 5 countries just for y'all? Like, let's be real.
I honestly said.
Wait, you know what?
I
They
think
might.
I think they're. I'm not saying that we will, but I think they're banking on it. I think Netanyahu really is banking on it. That's kind of why he came over here, spoke to Congress, but they applaud him 40-something times.
Yeah, but I could see Iran. But explaining to the American people about Syria and Lebanon is gonna be a tough sell. Like,
could say that
That's gonna be
everyone
tough.
who ever opposed Israel is terrorist, and you can say all the things that you want to say. But the bottom line is Israel is starting a much larger regional war, and
Israel
I
is
guarantee you,
starting on the
hold
7th of
on,
October.
I
They attacked
guarantee
us.
you that
They
Jonathan
attacked
is going to
us.
come
We
on
didn't
here.
fire a
You're not
single
going to talk
bullet at
over me.
Hezbollah.
I guarantee you, Jonathan comes on here and says
attacked us.
America must pay for it.
You can
America must
scream all
die
you
for
want, you
Israel.
don't impress
That's what
me.
he's going to say.
You can scream until tomorrow. You don't impress me even a millimeter.
Candace says
Hezbollah
Hezbollah.
Okay, then
attacked
we can both
Israel.
talk at the same time.
Hezbollah
Let's talk at the
attacked
same
Israel.
time.
We did
This
not
guy
attack
wants you,
Hezbollah.
America.
On the 8th
He
of
wants you
October,
to attack
we
the
were
whole
quiet
Middle
in our
East.
homes and
He wants you to
Hezbollah
attack
attacked
all
Israel.
Muslims.
That is the only thing that happens. And by the way, have you ever heard of the Radwan Force? Do you know what they're designed to do? They're designed to invade into Israel and do exactly what Hamas did on October the 7th. That is the main reason why
are
Israel
starting a
cannot
war.
live with
You are
Hezbollah
starting
deployed
a
on the
war.
border.
Gentlemen, I've got to leave it
You
there.
are starting a war.
Well, I think a war has been being waged actually for quite some time, and we'll see how this now plays out.
But,
clearly,
no, Piers,
clearly,
don't
it has
two
been. I think
sides
if you
this.
I think if you are a terror group who persistently fires rockets at a country, you are at war with them, right? I mean, you may not think you are.
terror group. I mean, like, so pretty much anybody who fires or, I guess, does any aggression to Israel, terrorists, right? That's kind of fair. I don't know if that's really fair to say. Like, what if Israel was the aggressor first and they just going back? Oh, so Israel can do all the beating up they want. They can go over there, take some of their land, smack them upside the head and everything. But as soon as they fight back, terrorists. Wild.
But you are.
I don't want to fight it. I don't want America to fight it, and I don't want America to pay for it. Jonathan, do you agree? You said, hey, if you're not Palestinian or Israeli, Hezbollah should have nothing to do with it. Iran, no other country should have anything to do with it. Great, then you're on your own. Don't ask for another dollar. Give us the $26 billion back. Why are you using our money to start giant wars in the Middle East? We already had one in Iraq. We hated it, don't want it, and you're demanding that we pay for Israel's war in the Middle East.
Not
no
at all.
deal.
And if you
you're
only
right-wing or
knew,
left-wing,
if you only
oppose the
had an
Israeli
idea
occupation
of how
Washington.
much Israel does great
that one
for
for
U.S. foreign policy and how much Israel
Hilarious. Shout out Les Phillips. Hilarious, man. $5 super chat. One of several he sent in, so y'all make sure to go show him some support on that super chat. My chocolate covered Twinkies have been way overpriced since COVID. I've got but one thing to say: free my Twinkies. Oh man, hilarious. Appreciate that super chat, dog.
serves
Zero.
American interest
Okay.
in the
Yeah, man,
region,
funny as
you wouldn't
hell.
say what you've been saying if you really cared about America.
Israel-
Okay, I've got to leave it there.
Israel does nothing for America
Okay,
other
you
than
both-
take
you
our
both
money.
made-
Only defend it, yes.
Both made your points very forcefully, and I appreciate you both being on the programme. I've got to say goodbye to Cenk and to Jonathan. Thank you both very much indeed. I appreciate it. Well, Candice, you're going to stick around because some interesting stuff has gone on